Joining us now to speak on the alleged alterations to the new tax law is Chairman House Minority Caucus Ad-hoc Committee, Afam Ogene. Thank you very much for joining us on News Night.
So, thank you, Ngozi, and Happy New Year, Nigerians.
Yes, good to have you. One would have thought that this whole issue around the new tax laws, would be a thing of the past, but apparently it's still very much on the table when you talk about the issue of discrepancies and alterations here and there. But first off, we just read in that intro some of the alterations that you pointed out. But the Senate, the Nigerian Senate, in sitting over this tax laws, had called for a regazetting of the tax law. Was that regazetting, was it done? Help us understand first off, was it done? And the initial issues that were raised, were they reflected in terms of fixing in the new gazetted law?
Well, thank you once again. Let me start by saying, in response to your question, that I'm not a senator, and so I do not sit in the Senate chambers.
Yes.
But if they had called for a regazetting, it presupposes only one thing, that there was something wrong somewhere.
Right.
And I think that the mandate of my ad hoc committee is to find out what went wrong.
Yes, but in calling for regazetting of that law, yes, done by the Senate, you're not there, I'm sure you're aware of the regazetting directive.
Yeah.
And the question is, was that regazetting, was it done? Okay. Has it been effected? And the discrepancies that you found in the initial gazetted law, were they addressed in the new one?
No, I think what has happened is that there have been a lot of flip-flops since this issue was raised on the House by the Honorable Abdul Samad Dasuki on Tuesday, December 16, 2025, if my dates are not failing me. Before that motion was moved, some members of the Minority Caucus took precaution and went for certain documents, one of which is getting the gazetted copy from the Federal Ministry of Information. You pay and you get a copy. But soon after that motion was raised, the very next day we sent people to procure this, because that is where the public can actually get copies. And they were no longer selling to anybody. So
you're talking about the initial gazetted report?
Yes.
The first one?
The first one.
No, just to be clear.
Yes. And you know that this bill was passed by the National Assembly in March. The votes and proceedings came out 3 months later. Votes and proceedings contains the final copy, the arguments leading up to, and what the House has adopted, came out in May. And then by June, Mr. President graciously assented to it. Then you had the tax administration component taking effect from January 1, 2026. Yeah. But by June 26, 2025, it had been gazetted. So there was that copy out in the public space. But by the time some members looked at it and saw that there were some alterations and raised the alarm, certain other things followed. And so in the course of our work, which is not conclusive because it is an interim report, but we have been able to identify and justify that there are actually out there about 3 different versions.
3 different versions
yes,
of the same
tax
administration law. So where exactly are we now with this tax law? What exactly is this committee coming up with? And you say it's not conclusive.
When I mean it's not conclusive, in parliamentary practice, you are given 7 days or 14 days to do a report. And we are asked to do this within 7 days. So in 7 days, if it is not enough for you, you do an interim report to the body that sets you up, justifying why you should be given further time to do a more detailed work. So what we have done so far is to identify that, yes, these issues exist, but there is the need to find out who did what, whether individuals or corporate entities.
Okay, that's the stage where you are now, to identify those behind these alterations and discrepancies.
Yeah.
But based on your findings so far, and being a House member, what would you say could have led to this discrepancy in the first place?
Well, you can easily point to overzealousness by some officials on the executive side, which in summary you can tag executive rascality, if you permit my language. Because a lot of times people think that when you bring executive bills, the bills should return to you as was sent. Then we will just simply be I don't want to use rubber stamp, but it cannot be garbage in, garbage out, and that is why 360 of us sit in that assembly. And there are processes to lawmaking: first reading, second reading, then public hearings, and then it comes back to be read in a committee of the whole, and then there is harmonization between the House and the Senate, and then the Clerk of National Assembly prepares a clean copy which is sent to the President, and in doing so ensuring that it was what was passed by the National Assembly.
And this tax law went through all of these processes that you talk about.
Yes, it did go through.
Whose duty is it in the first place to publish gazetted law?
The executive, because by the time it goes to the President and the assents, the Nigerian printing press is under the Federal Ministry of Information. So it is their remit to publish the laws. But let me also say that there is the Arts Authentication Act. First came into operation, was passed in 1961.
That's
long before I was born.
That's a long time.
And then took effect on January 1, 1962. But in 2004, it was codified under the laws of the Federation of Nigeria. You know, 2004. And what this does is to ensure that accuracy, even if you twerk a comma in English language, it could convey a different meaning. So, but laws are meant to convey clarity. And that is the only way the populace can have confidence in our laws. That's the only way even businessmen that we are willing to come and invest in our country can have confidence that the law is as passed by the National Assembly. So
before now, beyond the issue of this tax law, have there been any cases where a gazetted law, has there ever been the need to actually go back and to ensure? I mean, you said there was a body set up as far back as 61. Has there been a time when we had this kind of issue? Or is this matter right now, as far as the tax law is concerned, has it not been politicized? No,
it will even interest you to note that one of our recommendations is that the minority caucus should, by way of motion, seek for a review of all the laws vis-a-vis the gazetted versions that have been passed in the 10th Assembly. So that would also answer your question if such things exist. Because if it happened now, the alarm bells indicate that it must have happened before.
That can be troubling. But we have to leave it there. Afam Ogene, Chairman, House Minority Caucus Ad-hoc Committee. Thank you very much for your work. And if you have other developments, please feel free to let us know.
My pleasure, always.